besides conventions and appearances, and again, you're only going to make limited amounts of money doing that stuff.
Yeah.
There's only so many out there to do. But I was always glad to where like I could walk out of my house and nobody will ever know me after 38 years of virtual unknown.
Yeah.
Compared to the guy that's, again, King Kong Bundy, Bruno Sammartino, to where like say Bruno had financial problems, which obviously he did.
Right.
What was Bruno going to do? What
No,
was
exactly.
Bruno going to go work? He's freaking Bruno Sammartino.
Exactly right. What's he going to do? To go to Kmart?
You're trapped being a star in one business that's dried up.
Yeah.
And it's over. And now you're such a huge star in that world, but that world's not paying your bills anymore.
No, not anymore. Well, that's like when Ivan retired, he went on to become a security guard at a high school. And when you hear some of these people are like, wow, like he went from being Ivan Putski to a security guard at a high school.
Well, Tito Santana, who kept his money and did well with his money and always had money, he wasn't going to sit around the house. Spanish teacher. He just retired last year.
Yeah.
And same Honky Tonk Man was a teacher for years. And he just said, you know what? He said for what he was being paid, he was just better off doing a couple wrestling bookings and forget about the school teaching.
Exactly. Well, listen, I'm going to now. I brought Brian back on, so I'm going to let him have the rest of the hour asking you some Memphis questions. And, you know me, I may jump in here and there, but go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Tom, I did one of those bus trips with Carmelo. That's how I got to know Carmelo through Lawler and did a bus trip when they came down. Part of that whole fandom right there that's crazy. As you said, it was all about wrestling back then. You was in there in 1988, if I'm correct, in Memphis, running that circuit, and you mentioned it just a couple seconds ago. I looked at some of the booking sheets during that time, and you guys had maybe 2 days off that month.
Well, it was Sundays were the only day off.
Yeah,
Sunday was the only day off. And thank God you're young, because like some of the guys were older that obviously lived around there. But like, thank God you have that youth because you needed it.
Yeah.
And how I got in Memphis was Scotty Raven, whatever you want to call him.
Raven, yeah.
He was working as Scotty Levy. He was using his
Scotty
name.
The Body. Scotty the Body. He came out of Larry Sharp's school and he showed up like he was a Marine back then. He had the jarhead haircut and everything.
Yeah.
So he showed up on the Indies with Savoldi's and everything else. He came out of Larry's school, real green. But Scotty was, we all hit it off, and Scotty became good friends. So like Scotty's dad, parents made a lot of money. So he just took the credit card and went on the road with it on his dad's credit card. So he walked on in every territory. So he goes to Memphis. He's walked on. Jerry Lawler start using him. And after he was there for a couple months, I sent my package down there. I was in a couple magazines at the time, and like a typed up letter and whatever.
Right.
I didn't have much of a resume yet. Just people that whatever. I couldn't even tell you what was in there besides like pictures in a magazine. So I get the call. Same thing. I remember this like it was last night. Tom, Jerry Lawler, how are you, brother? I'm like, and you know the voice. It's Jerry Lawler.
It's him. Yeah.
Jerry Lawler. And he goes, I got your stuff from Scotty, and we're looking to bring you down. And he said, whatever the starting date was, and, same thing. So I was roommates with Scotty, and then I was there probably about close to a year. And then I was homesick at that point where you're like, I was just turning 21. I wanted to be home for my 21st birthday to be with all my friends. And that was enough. I was there probably about 9 months at that point, 10 months. And then it was funny. So Randy Hales was the booker, and I remember being home for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I missed it. So I called Randy Hales. I'm like, yeah, Randy, anything going on? I knew it was over, but it was almost like I wanted to plant the seed in case there was a chance to go back.
Yeah.
Part of me wanted to, and part of me didn't, because now up here, I got a ton of bookings. Because like Carmel, you remember, like even back then when you said you wrestled in Memphis, it was almost as good as saying you're in WWF or WCW, because you're in a territory.
Absolutely.
You're better than all the locals. You're better.
Yeah, because you had an experience that, one of Portland, Memphis, you go up to Kansas City, St. Louis. If you said that, you were a star. So
yeah, so back then the territories meant something. So right away you come back and you're like, star of CWA, whatever promotion it was, CWA and whatever, just something for the promoter to put on a poster where now you were better than all the other guys on the show.
Yeah.
Because you just came from the territory.
Yeah, because you had a background. Exactly.
Yeah, that was the first step. That was the first territory I was able to get in. But it was great. Like, you have nothing but memories. I was talking to Gangrel last night about guys. We were throwing names out. Brookhouse Brown was my first feud there.
That's what I was going to say. Brickhouse Brown was they did an angle on TV where he just beat the shit out of you. And then y'all was all over the circuit. And y'all, I'm going to tell you ahead of time, I might have gave you heat because I was called backstage after your match in Jonesboro by Lawler. And Lawler said, "How was that?" And I was a Meltzer stooge. I was all about the stars back then. You know, I was like, man, that was 4.5 stars. That was awesome. They were all over the building. And I was talking loud in my hands, and all the workers were walking by because Lawler was in that little room by himself, and they were walking by. And Lawler said, he said that was 4.5 stars out there with Brickhouse and Tom Brandi. There's no way that was 4.5 stars. And I was like, and I remember leaving that night thinking, man, I hope I didn't screw Tom over on that. But it was really crazy because we knew y'all were feuding, but we were not expecting y'all to come out and work all. I mean, you went to the gimmicks table, you went to the stairs, but Brick easy to work with.
Oh, he was great. Brick, you know, that's what my greatest memories of like these territories. The locals, they were so crisp. They were so good. Like Billy, we were talking about Billy Travis last night.
That's another name here. Yeah.
Love him.
And guys, because I started a week before Scott Steiner. Now, remember, like he had his ride set. His brother was a star in WCW. Scott was a brick shit house. You know what I mean? He just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and just he went there for some experience. And you know, I can name all the names because
when you saw Scott, though, you saw Scott for this first time. Was you like all of us? We were like, oh shit, he's gonna be a huge star. He's gonna be a huge star.
Like, you know what? If his brother already wasn't in WCW, I wouldn't have looked at him as any different than me. Just because, but knowing his brother's already there,
right?
He has that wrestling background, the collegiate. You know, all this stuff that those guys love, you know, like Jim Ross loves the collegiate background and, you know, a shooter and a real wrestler. They love that shit. He just had to come there for experience. But like, if he was just another guy, then who knows what would happen to him? You know what I mean? Obviously, he had the talent, but obviously, you know, him and his brother were a can't miss. Yeah, it was money. That was a money tag team.
You talked about Billy Joe Travis, and he was a local guy, excellent worker. But Brickhouse and those guys, the local guys, were they the ones that helped you like refine the psychology?
Yeah. So you remember Gary Young, right? Remember Gary Young?
Yes.
So Gary Young was another one, just a fine-tuned, again, guy that never hit the big time, but could have. And just at one of those Southern crisp, smooth, got, you know, called all the spots. Everything was smooth. And yeah, like I can watch matches now and, you know, still be obviously like, you know, working that green out and getting experience. And guys like him that just made me so much better because he was in there cool, calm, collected, smooth, everything. Billy Travis, he was a baby face. I was a baby face. So all we did was team. And Jeff Jarrett was coming up, and, you know, Billy took him under his wing.
Right.
Billy's problem was obviously the demons with drugs. And he was really bad, which was sad.
I think Billy's the only guy to ever, for shoot, get arrested on a live wrestling TV show for child support. It was child support. He actually got
arrested. Are you kidding? That really happened?
Yes.
I believe it. Carmelo, he was such a talent.
Diamond. Pat, what do you remember about Pat? They were so good, Pat Tanaka.
So obviously the biggest, probably one of the top 3 nights in Memphis history, the night that Lawler beat Kurt Hennig.
Right.
Carmelo, were you there for the bus trip?
Yes.
You were there for that, right?
Yes, I was.
Jeannie, were you there?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you remember like it was yesterday. So yeah, Lawler wins the belt and all the baby faces hit the ring and pick Lawler up on our shoulders. Yes. So to this day, that video still pops up.
Yeah.
And I see myself on that video to this day. And I tell people, I'm like, we had the best match on the show, and it was no thanks to me, thanks to Dave Meltzer. So it was me and Billy Travis against Tanaka and Diamond.
Yep.
And they just knew Billy. They trusted Billy. They didn't know me, so I only got so much part of the match. And like Meltzer, I can remember reading it like it was yesterday again. Best match on the show. No thanks to Tom Brandi. Shit like that he would write.
Did Billy let you take the heat and you you just
no, actually no. He took the heat. I got the hot tag.
Oh wow, yeah.
But that's only because they trusted Billy. They worked with Billy a million times. Billy, he knew like that was a big spotlight show. All eyes were on that night.
Oh yeah.
So everybody turned up and they turned it up a notch that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I could have done whatever they asked me, but again, they knew him better. They trusted him more. Believe me, I'm in those matches now where like I'm looking at the guys on the other side of the ring and I'm like, I'm doing all the spots with that guy. I'm not even touching that other guy.
Right. Yeah. You had to that night. Here's what's funny about that night. Joel called me and he told me, be in Memphis. The title's changing hands tonight. You better be there. And I had been told Lawler against Flair one time. I had been told the same thing. Go down to Memphis, be there for that match. And well, as you know, Lawler didn't beat Flair for the belt, but and I said, he ain't gonna win the belt. So I stayed home that night as y'all all watched Lawler win the belt. And I think, do you remember Fargo counted 4 on that? If you go back and watch it, Jackie Fargo was a special referee and he counts 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the mat. So,
oh, did he really?
Yeah,
well, I guess
the first
that
one was probably him just getting on the mat.
Probably was. He was
agent
back then, but you was on a Mid-South Coliseum, and I noticed this show, and I know you guys don't remember everything and who worked the shows and stuff, but you had Dory Funk Jr. working Laura that night. Do you remember anything about Dory Funk being backstage or anything like that?
Not Dory, but I remember when they started exchanging talent with World Class. So I remember the Freebirds one show with the Von Erichs,
right?
And some of the World Class guys were there, and just anybody that was in the territory when I was there, I remember it like it was yesterday. The Bruise Brothers were there.
That's what I was just saying. Don and Ron, they had just
Ron and Don. But I remember the guys like Terry Adonis. Remember Terry Adonis?
Yes.
I remember again, they weren't all stars, but even Terry was more of a job guy. But boy, he was good. He was good to where, again, you look at a guy, he just looked like some random humbum on the street corner, never missed a beat.
Pat
smooth.
Rose was another name that worked. He worked. Pat was such a good.
So do you remember when they teamed him and Bob Holly? They were
yes, y'all worked him, didn't you? Yeah, you and somebody worked him.
Yeah, so I forget their name, but Bob Holly was a bleach blonde, and Pat Rose, they dyed their hair, and then they brought in. Remember the Cuban Choir Boys?
Yes, I was going to say the Cuban Assassins. Was one of those the original? Were those the guys that worked Stampede and everything? I can't even remember.
I'm not sure, but they were good. They were
good. They were real good. Yeah,
they were good. But yeah, I mean, you always had Robert Fuller and what do you call it? What was his partner?
Terry Golden,
Jimmy Golden.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Bunkhouse Buck.
Yeah,
right?
Bunkhouse Buck.
Yeah. So him, but yeah, they were there, and just like the different heel groups. When I got there, it was Eddie Gilbert and the Gilberts and Missy Hyatt.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you remember about Eddie and
not much? I think they left. I only remember them for a short period. Yeah, I only remember.
You might have been there were you there when Lawler got ran over?
What angle was that?
When he got run over by the car, when Eddie and Doug ran over.
Yeah. I don't know if I was there. I remember seeing it on TV. I don't know if I was there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But they were feuding. And Missy was Missy was so annoying. I knew she was what she was when I would listen to her on commentary, and I consider myself smart, but then she would piss me off because she was on my nerves. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I know everything about the business, but I'm yelling at the TV screen on Missy Hyatt. So
yeah, I mean, Tommy was still in the ring. So I remember doing I remember doing spot shows with Tommy and Doug, because Doug was new. He was young. He had to get experience. Doug, and then the Choir Boys, but so they turned Max Payne babyface. So Scotty left.
What happened to Max Payne?
He's in bad health, I heard. He shows up. He was at a convention not long ago. I haven't seen him since way back when, but he so Scotty Scotty the Body left. He went to Portland, and Max Payne turned babyface, so he moved in. He was my roommate. And then remember Sean Baxter?
Yes, I've only seen that name a couple of times.
Yeah, he was like a Poison. That's when Poison was.
Yeah, he was a rock and roll gimmick kind of.
Yeah, so we actually did security for a Poison David Lee Roth concert.
Oh wow!
One time, and that's when Poison was brand new and red hot. So yeah, Sean Baxter was like a Poison looking dude.
How about that?
And that's when I left, Sean was still there, and then Ray Odyssey went down, and they were a tag team.
Yeah, I did photographs for the magazines, and so I took a shoot with Max Payne. He was just a super nice guy. We took the photographs. That's when he first came in and was a heel, but
yeah, Max was great. He just played. He had his guitar, so the guitar was a shoot, and all he did was smoke weed all day. Him and Gary Young.
I think that show with you and Brick, I would have to go back and see if I've got the results, but I think the main event that night, if I remember correctly, there was so many people in that little building because it was Lawler against Gilbert, and Gilbert had been doing something the whole night. The crowd was I think it was right over 1,000 people, and the crowd was so hot, and y'all could have done anything, but you and Brick came out. And that was perfect because on television that day, Brick had beat you up. So you came out, house of fire, and y'all just went all over the building.
They set up an angle. Remember that tag team Rough and Ready?
Yes.
So I pinned the one, then I pinned the other with like just real quick roll-ups. And then Brick came out and said, I forget, who was that manager? He was his manager. If you said the name, I'd remember it.
Was Bruno his manager then?
No, it wasn't Bruno. I remember the face. If you said the name, I would know it. So they come out and they make the challenge, and then they were standing up for Rough and Ready. They were, he was like, oh, you can't do that to my guys, blah 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 blah. And then same thing, quick little interaction, and I pinned Brick House.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, and then he threw me into the pole, and then I was supposed to get color. So I've only done it one time prior, and I was shitting my pants, right? So you're on live TV, and I'm saying to myself, all right, where's the blade?
God.
I'm literally shitting my pants, and I'm thinking you don't want to be caught on camera. You want to do it. You want to get color. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm like, you're thinking you're doing it, but you're really nothing. I couldn't have popped a zit, right? So I'm doing it, and they say, hold your breath and try and do this,
oh my God,
right?
Yeah.
So I got a trickle. I'm thinking I cut my freaking head off, and I get a trickle.
Well, at least you got color, right?
Yeah, they had like a zit. I'd rather pop a zit. I would got more blood.
Oh
But I'm thinking, because remember the Larry Winters thing stayed with me forever to this day.
Yeah, that would.
It stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm doing what I'm thinking. I'm cutting my freaking head off, right? And I got if you went and scratched me like that,
you would get more blood there. Yeah.
So yeah, that didn't. But they got the point. It
was really good. Like I said, it was a really fun time during. Memphis had a lot of great talent, and they went down. The bus trip went down when Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond were feuding with Billy Joe and Jeff, and they were having these just crazy matches every night. I mean, they were personally trying to have better matches. They're like, oh, we'll have a better one tonight.
Yeah. Well, that was like if you remember in WCW when I was there, it was Pillman and Austin with Steamboat and Shane Douglas, a one hour Broadway every night.
Oh wow!
And it's only those guys could do that. I don't
okay, I want to ask you one last
Broadway
question. I got to ask this because it has a reputation. Memphis Wrestling does. How was the pay?
Well, you kind of knew what you were going to get.
Okay.
So you never set your sights too high or too low. So you kind of knew. So at the end of the week, again, you're a single guy, and I didn't have any.
And you're rooming with somebody, so
you're rooming. You're carpooling. You're eating at Wendy's or whatever. So I'd say probably on average, say $350 a week, right? So if you had a big Memphis show and they threw you like an extra 50 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so I couldn't actually tell you my high or my low.
Right.
But at least you knew it wasn't like you had to worry about being booked or not booked like the bigger leagues. It was obviously if you're in the territory, you're on the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you're wrestling 6 days a week. So so Sunday was your only day off. So obviously Memphis was Monday, Louisville was Tuesday, Evansville was Wednesday, spot show Thursday and Friday. And then we would stay in Memphis Friday night. We were trying to get to Memphis because you had to be there for TV first thing Saturday morning. And then a lot of times they did like Nashville Saturday night back at the fairgrounds.
Yep, that was a hell of a haul. Right after you get through with TV at 12:30, you get in the car, and that's a good what?
And like I said, thank God you're young. Thank God you're young.
Yeah, well, you guys did that a lot though back then.
Well, that was 6 days a week. So like
That's
I
what
said,
I'm saying.
thank
No
God
matter
you're
where
young.
you were, yeah.
Where were you living? Were you living in Memphis and taking all?
No, Nashville, the Congress Inn. All the boys stayed at the Congress Inn in Nashville. The day that Kurt Hennig lost the belt, we were hanging out catching because he was in the sports, so we were having a catch with the football out in the yard at the Congress Inn that afternoon before we went to Memphis.
I wonder about that because if you had Jonesboro, Arkansas on a Friday night, it depended upon where you was Thursday night. Was you driving home from the spot show Thursday night and driving all the way back and then going, say, to Jonesboro?
Oh, yeah. Because, we never stayed anywhere besides our hotel back in Nashville. Like I said, we had friends we met in Nashville, Memphis that they eventually let us stay there. They wanted us to stay on Friday nights, which were like, that's fine. We'll stay.
That's what at my apartment on Saturday nights in Jonesboro, I usually had Dutch Mantel and The Undertaker and the Cuban Assassin stayed a couple of times, but I had a couch. So you could lay on the couch and you didn't have to drive that night, and they'd always take me up on it. So
yeah, so we stayed there Friday nights because again you had to be up early Saturday for TV, and then you do TV, and then you drive back to Nashville for the show that night.
I had asked Bruno, downtown Bruno, one time. I had seen him at the mall on a Saturday afternoon, and he told me that after TV, he'd have someone drop him off at the mall. He would stay at the mall and read books and eat food until it was time to go to Nashville. Then someone else would pick him up and take him to Nashville Saturday night.
I believe it. Back then was all about it was almost like when we worked for Savoldi's because they were the only company up north that would do like 3 and 4 shows in a row, and they would do like TV and a couple spot shows. Like the whole fun of it was like seeing how cheap you could be and any which way to like cut a corner to save $1 and bring as much money home as you could. And then so like I was already primed up for going to Memphis. I was already in practice by being doing
being cheap by working Memphis.
Yeah, I was ready for Memphis.
Larry, and I'm telling you, Larry Winters could squeeze blood out of $1. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
You learn that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the funny part about it was working the indies back then. The guys got paid remember Carmelo, remember like Bob Raskin and some of those promoters.
Yeah.
So you were paid X amount of dollars for wherever you were on the show.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with who you were or like your years in the business.
No.
So like me and Mike could wrestle each other, and that match would pay, and it's way, way, way more than they're paid now. Like if they're even paid, believe me, the money we were paid, I was never paid under $100.
Yeah.
And that was like a bad pay. Like 100 or 75 was like TV money. They called it the TV payoff.
Yeah.
Like, hey kid, we're doing TV tonight. So they know they could give you $75. Back then, like the average payoff, and I was in the business 6 months to a year, was $150.
Wow.
These guys haven't seen 150 their whole career now.
There's so many of the indies, especially just in this area. There's 9 little promotions. We have, by the way, Memphis Wrestling is back on television, and it's about 166 weeks. I actually work with them providing content. But they have
Is that the one with that Star, Maria Star?
Yeah, Dustin and Maria Star. Yeah, they've been doing it for 166 weeks. Okay. And it draws a really good audience there. They do all kinds of stuff around, but I think they're, and I'm not saying this because I provide content, but they're the most professional. But there's all these guys that haven't, like you said, haven't been trained. training other people, and you have that, and you can't get a big crowd because, say, I have a friend who went to see the shitty show, then he thinks all the wrestling around here is shitty. So,
right, exactly.
And he only goes to WWE. He only goes to,
Yeah. What about
part.
Ricky Morton has a school in Tennessee somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's on the other side of Tennessee. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
is it?
He's way over on the other side.
Okay, and then you have the Al Snow's guy. He's in Kentucky, right? Louisville.
Yeah, he's in Louisville. Yeah, right where the OVW used to be.
Yeah. He did that little TV.
Well, it's still called OVW, but what I'm talking about is, where Danny had the school and everything.
Yeah, Danny Davis.
Oh, wow.
They had that Netflix show. They had like a 7-episode.
Yeah,
Netflix.
that was pretty interesting. But it was a little bit disturbing at times because it resembled a lot of people I know. The rest.
No, but you know what? I can't watch like current wrestling, but I could watch that and like Dark Side of the Ring and all that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, that Netflix thing, you could be a bigger star. Like I know, like a couple of the people on there now are getting booked and they're doing like shows up here.
The girl's getting booked.
The girl,
time.
Haley,
yeah, she's
Hollywood, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's what's funny is you could be on like NWA or one of those every week and only get to a certain level status wise where nobody really wants to book you out. But that Netflix series, if you think about wrestling, and Carmelo and Jeannie, from day one, think about the guys that got over the most were the guys that were able to talk. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Netflix show, you're talking the whole time. So they're seeing your personality from the first show to the 7th show.
Exactly.
They're seeing where you live and who your kids and your wife and your dog
your
and
mom
everything.
And the whole
Al Snow interaction with the company, your mom, everything. So when you look at guys like The Rock and Stone Cold and guys that were like, like Gift of Gab and the guys that they put a mic in front of, they're the guys that always were the biggest stars because you're able to see their personality. That show there, just 7 episodes, and that girl's gotten more probably work from those 7 episodes than any of the girls in like TNA or NWA.
Sure, I actually got WWE tryout and everything. She's got something medical they weren't too happy about, but she did get a look, and that's a big thing.
That's a lot.
It is just from that show.
Yeah, just because she had never been, even with Al Snow being part of the business and everything, she never got a look until she was on that show. And somebody,
that's my point. Yeah, that's my point. There could have been a guy there because what's cool about it, I didn't realize they had some of the older guys in the mix. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was all like young and up and comers and whatnot. Right. And then when you see some of these old guys that kind of like live there, it's kind of like a territory where like, when we were in Memphis, you have your guys that live there and like live there all year around, whether they're wrestling for Lawler or not. Yeah. And then that Netflix thing is his closest thing to it.
Yeah. Jeannie, you had a question.
Yeah, no, trying to remember. Tommy, you were at the WrestleCon.
Yeah, the one 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, right before WrestleMania weekend. I know you were only there on Friday, which I couldn't go because I have to work. But I think that girl, she was there on Sunday because me and Frank Chili went on Sunday.
I think she was. Yeah.
I didn't know if she was there on Friday as well.
No, my buddy's been booking her out. He had her over. I think she was at the arena Friday because they had a couple events over there in the block party. And I was just trying to stay on top of all the shit that was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't met her yet, but my buddy's booked her out like 3 times already.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that when you were talking about her, I'm like, wait a minute, I think I didn't.
Yeah. He's
already used her like 3 times
already for like shows where like she'll do either sign autographs and wrestle or vice versa, either or. But she's already getting booked up here. Nobody would have known anything about her.
Yeah.
She got booked on Memphis Wrestling. She did a VIP at the front, and then they did a little angle with the local champion. So everything like that you can do when you get exposure. So and you said something, they just put their posters up on Facebook. Yeah. I started laughing about that because everyone says, "What can I draw?" And I've never seen a poster. Nowhere. If I
hire Carmella. Carmella will give you a what to do and what not to do course. But here's the funny part. Like, I'm not even joking. What she did then, still works now.
It still
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Like
Thank you.
the social media is gravy. That's something you do when you're just sitting there like on the couch doing nothing. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah, we
Watching
busted
TV.
our asses. We did.
Right,
We all
right,
did. We
yeah.
busted our asses back
Because
then.
you had the radio show was like
Yep.
one thing nobody had.
Yep.
And then, but it was getting the people on the street,
In the store.
Yeah.
in the
store helps
store,
so
and
much,
flyers and posters and
And
flyers
we
and
had
posters.
no other way of communicating.
And it worked.
That was it. It
It
was all
worked.
word of mouth. Yeah, it did.
And you
I
think
want to
about
ask you a question.
Sure.
What are the odds maybe of us getting her on the show? You're that lady.
I think it would work because my buddy was like, she's new to the business still.
And that's
Like,
why I want her.
Yeah, I think I can get her number from my buddy that books her.
Perfect.
She's at that
Yeah.
age where she probably like she loves it, so she'll do anything anybody asks her to do.
Perfect. I want her.
Yeah, I
Thank
wouldn't
you, Tom. I appreciate you talking about Memphis. That
no,
was
you could ask me. You
fun-
could ask me whatever you want. Like I said, it was all great memories.
fond memory. Just me and you are same age, so you was working there, and I had just come out of high school and living here for college in Jonesboro.
You look good. You look good for 75.
Well, I know it. That's what I was thinking. You too. God.
I got to tell you, both look good. Let me tell you, Tom, you haven't changed a lick. You really
Oh
haven't.
yeah.
Nope, and you're still sarcastic and everything else.
Not even, I
like.
haven't even been sarcastic yet on today. Nothing.
No, you've been pretty good. I'm proud of you, though. But you're still.
That's 'cause we haven't seen each other for so long. I got to be nice for now.
Well, maybe we're going to get together soon. How about that? I'd love
Sounds
that.
good.
Jeannie and
Sounds
I'll
good.
take a ride down, or you come up and we'll get together. But
Sounds
listen, before we close, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much, because I know that you said yesterday you're not into doing a whole lot of podcasts and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, anybody who's a real wrestling fan who listens to this podcast will freak out, because the content that we've had today, in my opinion, is some of the best that we've had. Okay.
We
Because-
haven't even touched on it yet. We haven't
Exactly.
touched on it.
which goes exactly into my next question.
We'll do a part
Will
two.
you come back? Yeah. Will you come back and do another podcast?
Oh yeah, because we haven't even touched on it yet. We
Exactly.
barely
Exactly.
touched on a
We'd
lot
be
of
here
stuff.
for the whole weekend if we were going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
No, because
Yeah.
30. I've been doing this 38 years. You have a lot of stories.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. That's what everybody wants to hear. Carmela, you got so many stories. And that's exactly what we want to hear. And a lot of people are like, they don't want to see current stuff that much. They want to hear what
Right.
it was like for wrestlers to survive back then.
Yeah,
What
they
it was
want to
like
see.
get
They want to
started.
hear about guys breaking in and what they dealt
Yeah,
with breaking
real
in and
stories,
different
exactly.
characters.
Right. And we
different
have a
roadblocks.
right.
Well,
and we're
and
gonna ask,
also people my age who watched it on television that really didn't have a lot of access to. I only had access to a few guys, and then so I've got all these questions. Like a backstage TV show. I want to know what was happening backstage when the
Exactly.
TV show was there, and so.
exactly.
Yeah,
so-
no. Like I said, you're lucky to be in Jonesboro to where just the fact that the amount of time that you spent while the territories were still going,
It was
and the
hot,
fact they
yeah.
closed up, but your memories they can never take away from you.
85 was real good. 86, 87, 88, just hot. Memphis was.
Remember the Renegades Rampage?
Yes. That
Yes,
was some big
yes.
old money too.
Yeah, they
was
had
big
that
money.
on the canvas. And I
Nice.
remember like whatever souvenirs, like a couple programs I kept or whatever I kept from Memphis, it was plastered all over Renegades Rampage.
Well, listen, can I call you later? Will you be available?
Yeah, I'll be around.
All right, I'll call you later.
Thank
We'll
you,
set up
Tom. I
another
appreciate
date.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do a part 2 and a part 3, no
And a
problem.
part 7 and a part 8, a part 12, whatever you
Like
want.
I said,
man.
we didn't even touch on half the
No,
stuff.
No.
Jeannie didn't get a chance to talk at all.
She doesn't.
No.
I told her she could just jump in, but
I'm
she
just
doesn't.
memorized by you, Tommy. You know that. I always,
Yeah, right.
Oh, here we go. We're gonna
That's
be
always
right.
memorized by my Tommy.
And I
Yeah,
can
right.
never keep my mouth shut, so I'm always rolling. So if you're going to talk, you got to jump in. That's what I
Really,
tell
really
her.
quick. Tommy, were you on the show that Dominic did put on in Pittsburgh for a show where I valeted? Were you on that card?
I think so, because I remember.
I
trying
think
to
he was.
For Larry Zabisco. I valeted for Larry Zabisco on that card.
I want to say,
but
yeah.
I can't remember who else was on the card because
Yeah, that's
Dominic,
what
he's like, here, you stay here, don't leave.
Who
And
else?
I was just
there
in some
anybody
room
else
the
from-
whole night. And I didn't get to
Anybody
see
else
anything.
from Philly on the show you remember that came out?
From Philly?
Like Carmela, you didn't go to that?
Oh, I was there.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. I want to see if we can look that one up and see
I
who else was
think
on
the
it.
only, if I remember correctly, his card was from almost top to bottom was his students.
Yeah, like if I had a bet on it,
graduated.
I'd say I wasn't there.
And
Because
then
I don't have, I would remember something, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
And
Well,
then the
we
main
had gone
event was
out-
him against Larry Zbyszko, and I valeted for Larry.
Yeah, I
Zbyszko.
don't think I would
just
say
couldn't
no because
remember
there was
who
something
on.
there I would remember. Now
Yeah.
there was a Pittsburgh promoter that always booked Dominic and Bruno and me and Mike. Bruno would be the announcer, and he would always put me over. The thing about Bruno, the fact that I met him so late in his career, he was obviously retired, but he always put me over. I think the Italian connection and whatever.
Exactly.
But any chance that like he did like a live shoot interview with Rob Feinstein, and he put me over because we had him in for the weekend for a show, and he couldn't put me over enough times. Every time he was in front of a mic, he would always put me over when he didn't have to.
He was.
didn't
I'll
have
tell you
to.
what. He was always a gentleman, and he was always told the truth. And
Never
even if that truth hurt you, he told it.
couldn't get enough of him. Couldn't get enough of him.
Exactly.
Couldn't
Well,
get
we're going
enough.
to do this again, God willing. Next week we're going to have Joel on,
Good.
Joel Goodhart. So God willing that goes all right. We're going to have him on, and then like I said, we're going to go through you if we can to get a few other people. I want to get Mike Kalua as well.
Yeah, Mike will do it.
Yep. So
Mike will have no
go
problem
from there.
doing it.
It'll be great to see him. I haven't
Yeah,
seen him.
because like I said, Mike broke me in, so everything that he was, I thought he was around a lot longer before he broke me in. It was only about 3 years. But then again, he had stories of stuff that he went through before I got into it.
Yep. Oh, that's what I want. I want stories after stories after stories because there's no kayfabe here. There's none of that stuff.
He even has stuff that you won't remember because it was even before me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Even before me, but
We're
he'll definitely do it. Mike will do it.
Okay. Well, Tom, I'm going to let you out right now. Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank
Tom,
you, guys. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
I'm going to end the recording, and then you two stay on for a second, please.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Love you.
See you guys.
Okay?
Yep,
See you later.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, you guys there?
I am.